25th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James.
So we can't ignore the elephant in the room. 2024 NBA Draft, LeBron James Jr. is now playing with his dad, and many people feel like it's LeBron James completely. It's a nepotism case, and it's part of the reason why it's a growing disdain for LeBron James. He's one of the greatest players, arguably the best, as many people will say he's better than Jordan. Let's talk about it. I've compiled 5 reasons why people seem to hate him, and potentially why he's also one of the greatest. And I just wanted to cover these different concepts and cover in sports. So let's kick it off with the number 1 reason. Reason number 1, the constant flopping or complaining to the refs. Now, me personally, I respect LeBron scoring all those points. He's the all-time leading scorer as of now. But a lot of people say that it's due to him drawing a lot of fouls, and getting a lot of leeway from the refs, giving them fouls. You could say it's a mixture of him not getting calls and him being also a star. Such as like Luka, they always complain to the refs because they tend to get fouled more than the typical player on the court because they have the ball more, they're involved in more plays. But LeBron does do a lot of complaining to the refs, and there is times where they don't make the calls for him, so you feel kind of bad, but it is the game. The calls don't always go your way as a fan, or your team doesn't always get the call they need. But that is a hitch towards, saying he's one of the greatest, because he constantly complains even though he knows he can score at any moment. It would seem like he takes the route of complaining to the refs and trying to get more leeway, and that's number 1 reason why people hate him, even though he's one of the greatest scorers. The number 2 reason, he has some of the craziest fans. Being that LeBron is playing now, he's considered the greatest of all time. There's an argument to be made that every generation has a player that's their greatest. In the 60s, it might have been Jerry West or Will Chamberlain or Bill Russell. In the 70s, it might have been Kareem. The 80s, Magic, Michael Jordan. The 90s and so forth, it was different people. The LeBron fans, they make so many different hypotheticals to why he's the greatest. I love his game. There is times I feel like he could be more dominant, but he's shown so many times where he does dominate the game, so I respect it. But his fans make so many hypothetical scenarios to when they try to compare his legacy to Michael Jordan. For instance, the finals, argument, that's part of my debate or details in this video, but they always say that LeBron's won more times than Michael. But you have to put an asterisk with that because he didn't win more times. So it's kind of something I elaborate on in the future. But number 2, his fans are pretty wild. They're passionate about him. And it makes it kind of annoying to watch him because they have a high bias because right now it's his time. Even though he'll be retiring soon, you got to give him his credit. So that's number 2 reason why people hate him, even though he's one of the greatest. Number 3. Joining super teams / forming super teams. Now, there's an argument to be made super teams always existed in the league as far as back as the Celtics with Kevin McHale and Larry Bird, and then the Showtime Lakers with the trio, or just a good team of Magic, Kareem, Cooper. They had had a great team, but super teams, it's an argument to be made, they've always been around. But LeBron, he took the cake in 2010 when he left the Cavs to join the Heat with the D-Wade and Chris Bosh. And people feel like that shifted the league in a negative way, and he started that trend. So there's an argument to be made. He didn't really contribute anything positive doing that to the league as far as competition-wise, but it was his decision to make. So that does go into question when people talk about his legacy, as Michael Jordan never went to another team. He did retire, but he never went to another team. So that's number 3 reason why you could say, he may not be the greatest, or why people have such a disdain for him when people say he's the greatest. Number 4, his finals record. Now, when comparing it to the current greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, the whole 6-0 versus LeBron's record of going, I believe, 10 to 11 times, and he's won 4 championships with 3 different franchises. It's a much strange comparison when you compare it to somebody who has 2 3-peats in the midst of retiring, in which when most people retire and they come back to the league, they fade into obscurity, but he came back and dominated. So comparing LeBron to a player who's done that versus going 10 times, which is amazing, only him and about, a few other players have done that, like Celtics players back in the 60s and 70s, and Jerry West has done that, about 10 finals appearances. But I don't know if that makes him the greatest, because he's went more, but he hasn't won more. And that takes me to my next bonus reason. The bonus reason, the 2011 finals where LeBron kind of shrank as far as him being one of the greatest. We all know he can do more and dominate on a higher level, and that series showed that he could be stopped, even though it was earlier on in his career. A lot of people say he could never be better than Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan would never have a final series such as that with a team that talented. But it's an argument to be made that finals determined the greatest, the GOAT argument, and kind of cemented how people feel about the championships when they compare Michael and LeBron and people who've won that much and are considered the greatest, Kobe. The 2011 finals is kind of a stain on his record. And for the final reason, I call this the media bias and, the recent draft nepotism. People feel like Bronny was able to join the team due to who his father was and not his ability on the court. You can't argue with that because he only averaged about 5 points, although he did have the heart condition, which affected his ability, his performance. But the nepotism, the ESPN bias, when they talk about LeBron, people do have to understand that's their bread and butter. LeBron's one of the most popular, if not the most popular player in the league. He's been like that for 15 years plus, so things aren't going to change, but it does add to the reasons why people don't like LeBron. They feel like he flops too much, and the media still protects him when he loses. They make a lot of excuses for him. They may cover up some allegations I don't want to mention in this video, but those are my reasons why people despise him, even though he's one of the greatest. And eventually he will be out of the league and people may miss him. But as of now, he's polarizing, he's loved, he's hated. So that's my take on it. But if you haven't seen my Michael Jordan video on why he's the greatest, check it out. That's covered in sports. Like and subscribe if you're into that. See you later.